What's up, everybody? Carolina Jackpot checking in on Wednesday afternoon, June the 27th. We're going to break down each conference every Wednesday until football season starts. I know it's interesting to do the previews, but I want to try to look at season records, the over-under win totals, and what I think that each team will do this year. And we are going to break them down by conference, and we're going to do one each week. We're going to do one every Wednesday until football season starts. As you see there on June 27th, today we're going to do the Sunbelt. Next week, July 4th, is a holiday. It's America's birthday, but we're not going to take it off. We're going to do the American Athletic and the Independence. We're going to do the Mountain West on July 11th, and so on and so forth until football season starts. Ending up on August 29th with the SEC. So let's jump into this week. Full bore, we are going with the picks and predictions from the South Point Casino in Las Vegas and what they have for each one of the teams in the Sunbelt Conference this year. And I've got them all written down here. And there we go. If you're asking about this crazy mark right here, that's for the New Mexico State Aggies. They are actually not in the Sun Belt anymore, but the South Point Casino listed them as part of the Sun Belt. So they don't know what they're talking about there. Maybe they don't know what they're talking about somewhere else. I don't know. That's a simple mistake. I made it myself. But we're going to jump into this right now and rattle these teams off real quick. And it's a Sun Belt Conference. This one will go kind of quick because I don't know a lot about these teams, to be honest with you, other than what I read in magazines and online. I have a very little experience with them. I don't watch a lot of them on television, to be honest with you, because we're too busy keeping up with our teams and the conferences that they're in and so forth and so on. The other big games each week, there's only so much time and only so many games you can watch, but we're going to attempt to run this down and see what each one of these teams has to offer in 2018 and what we think they're going to do. First team up is these guys, the Texas State Bobcats. Their over-under win total is set at 3 for this year. Now, they were 2-10 last year. They were 2-10 in 2016. Same coach. They do have 4 returning offensive linemen. They have a fairly tough schedule and have enough of their skilled people back to make a case for them being better. But I don't know where I see it or not. They have a road game at Rutgers, which is going to be a loss. They have a lot of Sunbelt games that are going to be tough that are on the road. The Troy games on the road. ULM and Georgia State, they're all on the road. 6 returning starters on offense, 7 on defense. They get their, some of their offensive line back. They got to replace their quarterback and several components on defense. I'm going to, I don't see it. I see them being Texas Southern, and I see maybe a win against New Mexico State. Now, New Mexico State, which we referred to earlier, that's a wild card here because they are actually playing like 5 of the Sunbelt teams this year, even though they withdrew from the Sunbelt and decided to become independent again. So, they're still on the schedule for a lot of these teams. I'll take a win there and a win there. Just looking at their schedule, it's hard for me to get another win here for the Bobcats. So with this one, which we have a over-under there of 3 for them, I am actually going to take the under on that. We're going to take the under on that one. I say they win 2 games. 3 will be considered a decent season for these guys. It's not very good at all. Oops, they're not in the Sunbelt. All right. Next team up, South Alabama. They are at 3.5 on the over-under scale. These guys, they really do play kind of a tough schedule for a Sunbelt team. They're on the road at Oklahoma State. They're also on the road at Memphis, which, both of those are losses. They're on the road at App State, at Georgia Southern. They're at Arkansas State, and they're at the Louisiana Raging Cajuns. So this is going to be a tough deal for them. They do have a new coach, Steve Campbell. They're let's see. Coming from Central Arkansas. I'm trying to look up on Steve Campbell. He comes from Central Arkansas, and they have went to back-to-back FCS playoff appearances. So, Mr. Campbell knows how to win. We're looking at them last year. They won some games they shouldn't have. They did beat Troy 19-8 last year, which was kind of a surprise. But the rest of their schedule kind of went as according to plan. They went 4-8. They played a tough schedule last year with Oklahoma State. Losing 44-7. I mean, they're just really got beat up on. They're not afraid to take on the big boys. I'll definitely say that about South Alabama. 3.5 wins this year. I see them with some wins. I see the Texas State game being a win for them. I also see them beating Alabama State. I see them beating Coastal Carolina. And, then we have like 8 or 9 other games to pick from. I think they can spring an upset somewhere here or there. And I am going to take South Alabama to cover that spread. And we're going to take them on the over on those 3.5 wins, okay? I think this is a 4 or 5 win team. Definitely, if they can get it together on defense, it could be even better than that. Next team up, Coastal Carolina, the Chanticleers. Last year, really not a very good record for Coastal Carolina. They were 3-9. That's one of the worst records ever. Their coach Joe Moglia, I think his name is, he had some health-related issues. Couldn't coach the team last year. They lost a lot of close games. They have some games on here that they're not winning. At South Carolina to open up the season, they're not winning. They're not winning against UAB. The second game of the season, which is a home game, UAB returns a ton of talent from last year, which was their first team that they'd fielded since 2014. They were 15, 16, 9th team, which is just absolutely incredible. And another team that they are not beating is UMass. On the road, UMass is on a lot of schedules here in the Sunbelt Conference. I see they have their quarterback returning, Peter Ford. They also have their top wide receiver target and their top running back returning at UMass. They're just getting better and better. These teams keep on scheduling them, but eventually UMass is going to surprise somebody, and they're going to really ruin somebody's season. So with Coastal Carolina, I mean, looking at the skill set they got back, 7 returning starters on offense, 4 on defense. I'm not sold on them. They have an over-under here of 3.5. I just don't see it. Those games are losses. They got Troy on the road. They have Appalachian State, Arkansas State. I can see them beating Campbell. Maybe the game at South Alabama. Other than that, the schedule looks kind of tough. With Coastal Carolina, we're going to take the under on these guys. I do not think they're going to reach those 3.5 wins. Louisiana's up next, the Raging Cajuns. And this is an interesting top squad here. Definitely. Billy Napier takes over as head coach at Louisiana Lafayette. His first head coaching assignment. A lot of us here in South Carolina know who Billy Napier is. He was once a quarterback for Furman. He was also a quarterback's coach at Clemson back around 2010. And most recently, his most high-profile tongue-tied job was as one of the quarterback coaches and helped out with the offensive coordinator at Alabama with Nick Saban. So Napier knows how to win. He was a winner at Furman. He won some at Clemson with him. And Of course, at Alabama, it goes without saying. They have a lot of returning skill guys. Napier's going to put a spread offense in place. That's what he's done everywhere that he's been. The defense definitely needs to improve. They were over 50 points last year, over 4 times. These guys definitely can throw some points up on the board. They do have a tough schedule, though. It's tough. They're at Mississippi State in week 2, and week 4 they're at Alabama. On the road at Appalachian State, at ULM. This is definitely not a easy slate for these guys. They over-under is picked at a 5. And I'm looking at them, being battle-tested with those guys there, I am going to say that these guys are going to be over. I definitely do. I think Billy Napier is going to bring a charge to them. I think he's a good coach, got a good head on his shoulders. I think they have some good players. If you've got a good offense returning, you've got a lot of the pieces in place there to compete, especially in this league. 5 wins, and then the spring 1 upset here amongst the App States, the Arkansas States, the Troys, and that is not going to be unheard of. So let's take Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns, to win the 5 games and cover that spread. Georgia State is next up on the board. These guys last year, 7-5. Sean Elliott took them to a bowl game and won a bowl game for the first time in their history. They have a young man named Perry Hart, a 5'8" receiver. He's a top receiver in the Sunbelt. Only problem is they don't have a quarterback to throw the ball to him. Nobody proven anyway. They do return 4 starters on the offensive line, and that's huge. So that's really going to help out that new quarterback and getting himself acclimated to the role he's going to be facing. These guys do face a tough schedule. Also, you have Memphis that they will be playing on the road, and if memory serves me correctly, NC State on the road as well. That's back-to-back weeks. They open up Kennesaw State, who's no pushover either, out of the FCS. Western Michigan, which is kind of odd matchup for Georgia State. They play them in week 4 at home. So none of these games are going to be pushovers for these guys. And just because of that, their over-under is set at 5 wins for the season, and I'm going to take an under on them, just because of the inexperience at the defensive positions. They only have 5 returning starters. The fact that they're going to be breaking in a new quarterback and some new receivers, or new running back, other than Perry Hart, they don't really have a lot. As far as receiving goes, NC State, Memphis, Western Michigan, I think those are all going to be losses. They got Troy, Arkansas State on the road, Appalachian State on the road. That's 6 losses to me right off the bat, and their over/under is set at 5. And somewhere there, somewhere or another, they're going to lose another game. So let's go on ahead and take Georgia State to not cover the 5-game win total. Unfortunately, this year in Sean Elliott's second year, it's going to be a bit of a rebuilding project. But I feel like he will get them where they need to go. He's a good guy, good coach. ULM, Louisiana Monroe, next up for us. Their over-under is set at 6 this year. They had 4 games last year where they scored 50 points or more. They went 4-8, though. Their 2018 defense was terrible, ranked in the 1 teens. As far as Division 1A teams goes, they actually returned, though, if you believe this or not, and this is kind of uncanny. You don't see a lot happening. All 11 starters on offense, all of them, they're all back. So that is absolutely huge. That's huge. You don't see that kind of stuff happen a lot. And, if they can get this defensive situation settled down at ULM and figure out a way to stop the other team from scoring, we may have a contender there in that side of the Sunbelt Conference for the championship. You got games against Southeastern Louisiana at Georgia State, at Coastal, Texas State, Georgia Southern, South Alabama on the road, and Louisiana Lafayette. Those 7, I'm going to chalk all those up as wins for these guys. I think they're going to do some good things. They have Southern Miss on the road, and also Texas A&M. And then you also have a game against, who was it here? Ole Miss on October 6th on the road. So all 3 of those games on the road. It's not inconceivable to think that ULM doesn't beat Southern Miss, and that ULM doesn't beat Ole Miss. I mean, these guys, they're not exactly juggernaut programs. They're having problems, and at Ole Miss especially, Southern Miss is not. They're not a pushover for these guys, but they're not world beaters either. So, that could definitely happen. Setting over under at 6 wins for these guys, I think, is a bit low. We're going to take the over on the ULM Warhawks. I think that 6 wins is just not quite enough love to give them. Next team up, the Georgia Southern Eagles. 6.5 wins is their over-under. Seems kind of lofty to me. Seems kind of lofty for a team that finished last year with a really bad record. They were 2-10 last year. So we're going to set them at 6.5 wins this year. Just doesn't seem feasible. 6 return starters on offense, 7 on defense, and they did perform a lot better after Chad Lunsford took over as their coach. They started off 0-6. Chad took over. They went 2-4. That's a little bit of momentum, a little juice, a little shot in the arm, but I don't think that's going to be enough to really, propel them that far up in the Sunbelt rankings. They have South Carolina State, which I think will be a win. South Alabama, at Texas State, at Coastal Carolina, I'm going to say are wins. And then we got the game at New Mexico State. That's another one. We really hadn't covered them a lot, but a lot of teams in Sunbelt play them because they were part of the Sunbelt up until the early part of this year. And I'm going to give them a win at New Mexico State. Reading up on them, it looks like they lost a lot. So 5 wins is what I'm getting out of this team. They have a home game against UMass. I don't think they're winning that one. They are on the road at Clemson. Forget about it. Arkansas State, forget about it. At ULM, forget about that one. And then the game at Georgia State, I don't see them winning that one either. That's kind of a toss-up type deal, but I think that one's going to go to the home team. That could develop into some kind of rivalry there. 6.5 wins, I think, is way too many wins to project for a team with as putrid as a record as these guys had last year. I'm going to take the under on that one, and that one should be one of the easiest ones in America to predict there. Take the under on Georgia Southern. Not saying anything bad about them, not disparaging the program. It's just, to go from 2 wins to 6.5 wins in a season, that's a big step. Next team, the Troy Trojans. Always up near the top of this conference. They do have a tough defense that returns pretty much intact, especially up front. They got to replace their quarterback and their running back. Their quarterback, Brandon Silvers, who was one of the better quarterbacks in Division I last year, led the charge, and he is gone. They have a lot of talent wide receiver left to pick up the pieces there and try to get that stuff going. They got 5 returning starters on defense. This thing is that Troy, they have a winning culture. They know how to win, and they can lose a few players in a year where they don't look like they're going to do a whole lot, but they can kind of surprise some people. They have in 2018, they're picking them with 8.5 wins, and I am going to take the over on these guys. Troy last year, with their record was, if I can find it, 11-2. Really good team last year. So we're looking at Florida A&M, Coastal Carolina, Georgia State, at Liberty, at South Alabama, Louisiana, at Georgia Southern, and Texas State. That's 8 wins right there that I think they will pick up. And between at ULM and at App State, I think they're going to get a win somewhere there between the two of those. Boise State at home, that's very interesting for these guys to be playing Boise State. In Troy, Alabama, they are next year, could definitely be. Is the game that they're playing at home against Boise State tougher than the game they're playing on the road against the Nebraska Cornhuskers? Scott Frost's first year. I dare say it is. I dare say it is. And I think the Nebraska game will be closer, and they become closer to winning that one than they do the game at home against Boise State. But let's take the Troy Trojans to go over on the 8.5 win total. Next to last time, we got to go over the App State Mountaineers. Their over-under is also set at 8 1/2 games. Let's look at these guys. They were 9-4 last year. They lost their defensive coordinator to Georgia Tech. Went down there and took a little bit more of a high-profile, high-paying job at a bigger school. 3 straight bowls. 3 offensive linemen returning, and a 2-year, 3,000-yard rusher, Jalen Moore. He's a senior this year. He's not 3,000 yards each year, 1,500 or so a piece each year. They got to replace their quarterback. Taylor Lamb was there, it seemed like forever. They got a new one they're breaking in this year. They 8-5 or 8.5 win total for App State. Returning 5 on offense, 6 returning starters on defense. Looking at their schedule, they're at Charlotte. Southern at Charlotte will be a win. Southern Miss at home is a win, I think. Gardner-Webb's a win. South Alabama's a win. At Georgia Southern and at Coastal Carolina and at Texas State, a 3-game. That's their gauntlet right there in October, November. I think those are all going to be wins. And they got no Georgia State. That's 8 wins there. And then all we got to do is pick up one more win between at Arkansas State and Troy at home. And then at Penn State. So I'm going to go on ahead and take the over on these guys. I think they'll end up beating, if they can get that kind of momentum going on, they'll either beat the Raging Cajuns or they'll beat Troy at home. Both of those are home games. Let's go ahead and take the over on Appalachian State. 8.5 win total. And the final team in the Sunbelt that we have is the Arkansas State Red Wolves. And this guy's 7-5 last year. Looking at them, 6 return starters on offense, 4 returning on defense. Doesn't really seem like a whole lot returns for them as far as the way of skill players. We got Southeast Missouri and UNLV at home. I think those will both be wins. Georgia State, a win. South Alabama, Coastal Carolina, Louisiana, Monroe, and Texas State. Those are 8 wins there that they've got. We've got them with 9 wins across the board. We're at Alabama. That's a definite loss. App State at home. I don't know about at the Raging Cajuns. I'm not sure. And then we have a road game at Tulsa. Kind of hard to predict that one. Tulsa's a high-scoring team that they can put up some points, but they can also give up a lot of points. I really don't know where to go with this one, but if I'm going to take App State and the over, I'm going to take the under on these guys because eventually it's all got to come out in the wash. Somebody's going to beat up on somebody, and somebody's going to be the conference champion. So we're going to take the under on the Arkansas State Red Wolves. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed that video, and like I said, next week we'll be doing another video. We'll have another conference on Wednesday of next week to go over, and we're going to do the over-under totals on their guys and their participants, and see how that ends up. I'm keeping all these together, so at the end of the year we can go back, we can revisit it, and see how we did. I would like to get like 60-70% of these things right, but it is what it is. It's college football. Kind of unpredictable at times, but at times if you use your head, it's not that hard to figure out. All right, video's gone long enough. We're at 25 minutes. I appreciate y'all. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for watching me. Hit the like button below if you like the video. If you didn't like the video, hit the thumbs down. Comment, subscribe to the channel. Let's get the word out. Let's pass it on. Share the video. Give me some more subs up in here. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. See y'all later. Peace. I'm out. Go game.